What is the purpose of your life when you seem to not belong anywhere? This may be the question that seems to haunt Jon Snow the most. In Game of Thrones, few characters are able to hit that spot of brooding lonely man living on to find his purpose, even though his character arc seems to fall apart in the final few seasons with no resolution at all. It is important to note how his story helps us understand the life of an orphan in the world of Game of Thrones. This is the point of Jon Snow, and you're watching the Mad of Movies. A big part of his character is the profound loneliness that he cannot seem to let go of. For one, ever since the first episode, we can see how he is given lesser importance in the family as compared to Robb. Furthermore, we can also see that he is never addressed as Ned's son, and this is where the main conflict for his story begins. He is not a Stark because he was conceived from an affair that Ned had. Now, it is no secret how much family name and prestige matters in the series. Like how Tyrion and Jaime keeps repeating the phrase, Lannisters always pay their debts, or with how much Robb Stark tries to live up to his father's legacy. To add to that, due to Westeros being under a monarchy, the throne is passed down by lineage. So in a world where the course of your life is dictated by your family, how does someone know what to do with their own life? Here, Jon Snow is not given an easy answer. In desperation to prove himself as a Stark, he believes that a life as a soldier is the most befitting the legacy made by Ned Stark. He joins the Night's Watch in hopes that he would find some answer. For one, he signed off on any chance to have a family at a very young age without experiencing anything major in life, and this oath is broken when he meets Ygritte. Furthermore, this life of honor he wished to have at the Night's Watch is more or less a fantasy. This is a military group that is brimming with corruption. Even when he does give himself up to Ygritte, he is unable to leave aside the values that were taught to him from Winterfell, which leads to his betrayal. Overall, this is a life of indecision. But this is where I believe his character teaches us something valuable. It does not matter what the circumstances of your birth is, you will find something to live for. He finds meaning outside of himself, and this change starts with him realizing that there are enemies outside of the ice wall that poses greater threat to humanity. As Jon was raised in Stark family, he is able to be dutiful and do what is right. By doing so, Jon shifts the burden of finding purpose from within himself to something outside. Due to his experience of neglect and abandonment, he is able to share pain with those around him. Unlike Robb or Bran, Jon did not have a comfortable life away from suffering. This feeling of being an outsider helps him understand the struggle faced by the wildlings. Here, Jon even goes against the values held by the Night's Watch to do what is right and bring the wildlings into the wall. We can see throughout the story that Jon is someone who is slowly rejecting the rules that were given to him in service of finding the truth. The wildlings even call him Escrow, which further shows that he is always an outsider in most circumstances. Through this decision, he becomes a moral compass of the series, often going against even his own wishes to serve the greater good. When he realizes that Ned has passed away, he is tempted to go back and fight alongside Robb, but he realizes that he has taken an oath for humanity and not for House Stark. This moral principle allows him to break down more chains. Even though he had a duty to the Night's Watch, he abandons them when he realizes that Westeros needed to be united. He rises to the position of commander, not because of any desire for power or vengeance, but for the sole purpose of serving humanity. When asked to bend the knee for Daenerys, he does so for the good of his own people and the realm. What may not be obvious is how much the character has changed from someone that moves through life looking for a place to inhabit to someone who has to make difficult choices for the greater good. Jon never had a life where he had been welcome, due to which he has always had to prove his worth and fight his way back to life. This can also be seen with the sheer number of times he has come back, rising from the pits of hell, and moves on. Even after the death of Ygritte, Ned, or Robb, he is not swayed by his emotions. He is able to move on and bargain with the instinct within himself that tells him that his life was meaningless. Furthermore, he is even able to come back from the dead in order to fight against the Night King. Even during his childhood, he was close to passing away from illness, but he clawed his way back in. All this tells us that this is a character with so much perseverance. Additionally, Jon is even able to surpass the concept of destiny. By the end of the series, we realize that Jon is the son of Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen. By their union, he was supposed to be the prophesied child, a song of ice and fire. He was supposed to be the prince that united the world against darkness and lead them. Here, he was able to unite all people around him, but he was no prince. In fact, even at the end, when he realizes that he was the rightful king for the Seven Kingdoms, he rejects this idea. Instead of following the path that was laid out for him by his fate, he goes back to the Night's Watch. And even in the end, when he meets Daenerys and develops feelings for her, he still has the capacity to understand the consequences of these actions. For one, he realizes that they are related by blood, which shows that her claim to the throne and their cause is not without faults. Following this, he is charged with making the difficult choice between her and the realm. Again, he is able to make that sacrifice. What we see from the story of Jon Snow is someone that slipped under the radar of every other character and managed to be the most instrumental force of good against the incoming darkness. His story helps us understand that, regardless of the conditions of which you are born, your life has meaning. The story stands in stark contrast with someone like Daenerys or Joffrey, who were both led by the belief that they were born for greatness. Even in the end, Jon Snow is one of the few characters within the series that can truly say they're free. When we look at someone like Ramsay, who was born as a Snow just like Jon, he is not able to make such choices. Even though Ramsay doesn't belong anywhere, Ramsay fights to get his name as a Bolton. But this is not seen in Jon. In fact, he goes against the game. He goes beyond the walls to find the true north, to rescue more and keep the realm safe. Through him, we get the true protagonist of the series, someone who laughs at every other character within it, because the war was never supposed to be between each other. It was never about who gets to sit on the Iron Throne, but a struggle against death itself. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.